Good morning. We'll call the January 13th, 2021 Development Review Committee meeting to order. We'll start with a roll call of the DRC members. All right, we'll start with a roll call. We'll start with the Community Development Director. All right, Police Chief.
Here.
City Engineer.
I'm here.
Fire Department.
Brian Bowman's here.
Transportation Planner.
Pam Richmond, present.
And Public Services.
That's Ryan, present.
All right. We will go ahead and get started with the agenda. The first item is the Oaks at Kelly Park Phase 3 annexation. Also on the agenda is the Oaks at Kelly Park Phase 3 large-scale future land use amendment. These projects are both running concurrently, the annexation and the future land use amendment. So we'll hear those at the same time. I believe the applicant is here in attendance, Mr. Jeff Summit. And we received your comments, and if you'd like to step up to the podium.
Should be pretty basic here.
You received your comments from the Development Review Committee. Are there any comments that you had questions or concerns with that you'd like to discuss?
Yeah, there is a couple of issues. Comment number one, I think they're just real quickly, just for the record, I think the only comments we got were from planning that I saw in the document. In regard to the concept plan, we had submitted a concept plan with the pre-app that we did prior to the submittal for the land use. And I just want to know if that was not acceptable for the purposes of the annexation and the land use request.
It wasn't submitted with the package, so we need to have that submitted with the resubmittal.
And then as far as the environmental site assessment and the transportation study, are those items we truly need at the land use, or is that something that we can push back to an MDP submittal?
Being that you're doing a large-scale future land use, we need the environmental site assessment. I'll let Pam Richmond answer as regards to the transportation study, though.
No, let's just wait and do a TIA at
Okay.
a later phase.
Because since it's tying into the other phase, it's just going to be attached to what we already approved previously.
No,
And
I
then,
meant a later phase of this project.
yeah, right, with the MDP, that's fine, okay. But you do want the EA?
Yes,
A
sir.
TIA, not a TS.
And then as far as the community meeting, I just want to get some clarification in regards to how you want to hold the community meeting. Are we going to do an in-person community meeting, or is this something that we can do via the mailers that we've done previously?
This one, because of where the location, you can do the mailers.
I can do the mailers on this one? Okay.
You've already got a few samples of the formats.
Yeah, we've done it a couple times, so, all right. And then just send you guys the return receipts that went along with the mailers?
Yes.
Okay. And that's it, Bobby, that's all I had.
Okay. All right, we will go around with the Development Review Committee to see if any member has any questions or comments in regards to the proposal. We'll start with the Community Development Director. Police Chief.
I don't have anything, thank you.
Okay. City Engineer.
No comments.
Fire Department.
Nothing further, thank you.
Transportation.
Nothing further.
Okay. And Public Services.
No comments.
All right. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the site plan for the 312 Old Dixie Highway. It's a minor development plan. This is the first submittal. And is the applicant here in attendance? All right, if you wouldn't mind coming to the podium.
Good morning. So this is a property, it's had a house there for 70 years. I think it was originally built in 1950. We got it rezoned for commercial. The intent is simply to have my daughter takes pictures, right, photography and such. So we're gonna try to create a studio for her where she can have some people come, and as opposed to going outside every time to take pictures with inclement weather, what have you, then she has the option to take pictures inside. So we had it rezoned a while back. And now we are presenting for having a parking area. So we were told it had to have parking in the back, and I guess there's some questions, comments, concerns, but this is a 1,000 square foot house that's been there forever, and now it's, we're just trying to have it be a small little business. So whether she takes pictures there forever or does something in the future, but that's the immediate intent. So I think there were some questions, comments, concerns that my engineer of record, Tim, will come up and address, but I can't speak intelligently about those, so I'll probably take a seat at this time, unless there's any immediate questions on that.
All right, Mr. Schutz, you received the comments from the Development Review Committee. Were there any that you had questions or concerns with, or comments on?
Yeah, I just wanted to go over a few and make some comments. Under sustainability, the comment was mentioned between 7,500 to 25,000 square feet.
Mhm.
Is that in reference to the property size or the building size?
It would be the building size.
Okay, so that doesn't apply then, because this is only
All
1,000.
right, then I would respond accordingly.
Okay, all right,
And the square footage of the building in the response letter.
okay. And on the drainage, 1 and 2, just mentioning this is below thresholds for notice of intent and St. John's. So we'd be getting, so we wouldn't be providing those as a result.
Which department was that comment from?
Drainage, engineering,
I would
for
address
Richard.
that to the city engineer.
Yeah, you don't necessarily need a notice of intent, but you are going to need to follow all of FDEP erosion and sediment control criteria.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. And we had mentioned the stormwater system, about just treating it, since it's just a couple thousand square feet, doing water quality in the rear. And we had some comments about a geotechnical report and stormwater calculations. So that was kind of a surprise. You know, it's just, we're adding a couple thousand square feet and we were going to provide water quality in the back. Is really not the kind of situation where we could put in a stormwater pond.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm seeing that the water from the new parking lot is going to go into a dry water quality area.
Yeah.
So you
yeah.
would need to show that the water will soak into the ground and that there's not clay in the area. So you'd need some sort of
Okay,
geotechnical analysis that says that, you know, the water's not just going to sit there and make a puddle. It's going to soak into the ground at, you know, the specified
okay,
vertical and horizontal permeability. And then, of course, you don't not only need to do water quality, but you also need to do attenuation so that you don't send extra water to your neighbors that aren't seeing it now.
okay.
I mean, they're not terribly complex calculations, but you have to show those things.
All right, further down under public services, show connection to city wastewater system. It has an existing septic system that they were going to utilize. Are they going to be required to connect to some sort of system, and how close
So-
is it?
I realize he just described it as an existing home, but if it's really going to change the use and you're going to have parties, we're talking about a sizable increase in your flow to your septic tank. And really, when you do that, our policy is you need to connect. It's not a residence anymore, it's commercial use.
Do you know how close the nearest one is?
It's right across the street, I believe. Force main.
Forest Main, across the street?
Mhm.
Okay, all right. Can you send me the map of that?
Sure.
And in regard to utilities as well, the reclaim system, is there one nearby that
I-
you know of?
Don't recall. I don't think so,
Okay,
but the map will show that.
all right. I think that was it for me, unless you have any questions that you wanted to ask me. There was a comment in regard to the parking had to meet current criteria, parking lot. I don't know if that's because something was observed that it didn't meet current criteria. I just wanted to follow up on that find out why that comment was made or whether it was just a general comment.
Which department was that from?
It, let me see, it was, trying to find it. It's under engineering. Item number, under roadway, or, yeah,
Public Services?
Number 2.
Oh, under engineering?
Yeah.
Number 2, okay.
I didn't know if something didn't meet the city criteria or if that was just a general comment.
Well, the parking space to the right of parking space number 4, I guess if I had a pickup truck, I don't see how, I could see how I could get in there, but then how would I get out?
Was it
I guess I'd have
24?
to back all the way out onto Old Dixie Highway?
The,
Typically, you end up putting a hammer in there, and there's no hammer to back up into.
there's a 24-foot backing distance there. There's not going to be any dump trucks or anything coming back there, emergency vehicle.
Yeah, typically, you know, for anything here, you're backing up and you still need to have that motion to.
Like a 5-foot then?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. All right, all right, all right.
Just the hammer.
Okay. That's it for me, unless there's any other questions.
We will go around with the DRC and see if any member has any questions or comments. Start with Mr. Hitt.
Yeah.
All good. Police Chief.
I don't have anything, thank you.
Okay. City Engineer.
I don't have anything else.
Okay. Fire Department.
You didn't have any questions about the fire requirements, did you? Did you receive those comments? Just want to make sure you got them.
No, I was gonna check on, I'm going over to the site right now. I was gonna look and see where the nearest hydrant was.
Yeah, okay. And then obviously the bathrooms and the entrance and exit would have to be ADA. I don't know
Yeah,
if anybody
they are.
ever sent those
Yes.
comments.
They
Okay.
do meet ADA requirements.
Pam Richmond, Transportation Coordinator.
Nothing?
Okay. And Public Services.
Nothing.
All right. Well, if you don't have any further questions, we'll look out for your resubmittal
Okay,
and process it accordingly and go back to DRC.
thanks, Bobby.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is the Nottingham Subdivision Major Development Plan. This is the first submittal. The applicant, Mr. Luke Clausen, is here in attendance. If you wouldn't mind coming to the podium, sir. Received your comments from the Development Review Committee.
I have.
This is a 46-lot, single-family subdivision located off of Punkan Road. And if you would like to go over the comments, any questions or concerns about?
Sure. There's just a couple that I wanted to kind of go over. Number 3, under planning and zoning, it says the environmental survey submitted states there's 10 gopher tortoise burrows located on the site. Provided copies of the Florida Fish and Wildlife permits allowing for the removal of the tortoises on the site. The Florida Fish and Wildlife permit for tortoise removal, it expires actually in 90 days. And so we can get it, but typically we get it after final engineering approval and provide it at pre-con. Is that, would that be acceptable?
Yeah, if the plans can be, the construction plans can be approved within 90 days. That's the thing, because the major development plan has to go to city council and planning commission as well.
No, I guess what I'm asking is not provide it now, provide it at.
Defer it to construction
Defer-
plans.
Yeah, and actually, we typically don't provide it at construction plans. They issue a letter saying that they will provide a permit, but the permits that they actually issue, because it states to provide the permit, it expires, it's only good for 90 days, because otherwise the gopher tortoises can relocate and move around because they're tortoises.
Okay.
So,
Do that prior to any permits.
yeah, just prior to pre-con or what, building permit, yeah, okay. Number 8 for planning and zoning, it says, provide architectural elevations for review and resubmittal. This developer hasn't selected, they're talking to a couple different home builders, and they haven't selected one yet. Can we defer that to final engineering, or is that something that's required at major development plan?
Typically, you're okay with final? Okay.
Okay. They'll have one in the next 2-3 months, I'd imagine, so by,
Getting a lot of flux between the developers, and we got about 3 primary
Right. Different home, right. And so I think they're weighing their options, I guess I would say. So we'll have them by final engineering, but they don't have it right now. Marathon Creek Building. Number 14, a tree replacement mitigation of $58,800 is required to be paid prior to construction. Please provide this amount on the plans. Can we state that a tree replacement mitigation fee will be established at final engineering? I think we found that the ability for us to save about 12 of the trees, so the value might change. I don't mind stating that the tree mitigation value will be provided, but not give the actual amount, because I think it'll be set at final engineer, or site construction plans.
It's typically information we include with the city council packet. is
Okay.
The tree calculation, so I would go ahead and submit what you found that you're going to save with the
Okay, the
resubmittal.
resubmittal.
And then recalculate based off of that.
Okay. But if you want the value on the plans, on the resubmittal will have this value as opposed to the new value. Does that make sense? Okay.
Whatever you're planning on trying to get approved, that needs to be presented,
On the, okay.
not reestablished or redone or anything like that. You gotta make sure you have all your ducks in a row for everything.
Okay, so I guess, can I email you the new plans? We can calculate the new value. That way I can put that value that you want on the
Yeah,
plan. So when I
we can
resubmit,
work-
it has the correct value.
Yes, we can do that.
Okay. And then Public Works, Norette, the right of way. All right, so we've gone over this for quite a bit. It is an Orange County right of way, and Orange County is noted through email and multiple times, they do not require additional right of way dedication. You asked us to coordinate with CFX. We did that as well. CFX responded back in kind saying, not only do they not require any right of way, they don't have the rights to ask for any because they don't have anything adjacent. How would you like us to handle this at this point, Norette? Everybody has responded saying they don't want right of way.
Okay, so respond accordingly. Before we were in a concept phase, that is known as non-binding. Respond accordingly.
Okay. Number 2, provide right-of-way dedication along Poverty Lane. Poverty Lane, it runs along our western boundary. It's actually an easement. It's not a public right-of-way. So we have, in coordinating with city staff through the concept plan, we stubbed out the public right-of-way to the eastern boundary line on the south, or on the bottom of this map. So the public right-of-way stubs out for the south for a future interconnectivity between any development that comes to the south. But I'm kind of confused at what you're asking for. You're saying provide right-of-way dedication along Poverty Lane. Poverty Lane runs north-south, but it's a private easement over, I think there's 8 different parcels along there.
Okay, so
How-
you showed a gravity sewer that is apparently, as of last night from an email from one of the engineers at your company, no longer going to be used, correct?
Correct, yeah, we're gonna add a
Okay,
lift station.
so when you showed a gravity sewer, I think you should have gone down Poverty Lane instead of through bisecting someone's private property, easement or not. So if that's no longer, then you can just put the force main as you please, and we will
Okay.
comment accordingly.
Okay. Increase one outside is prohibited. For water, it says provide a second connection along Poverty Lane. At the end of the road, on the utility plan we submitted, we have a water line and reclaim line with a ended valve and a blow-off for future connection for a loop system. Is there something you'd prefer besides that?
Say that one more time, please.
For water, it says provide a second connection along Poverty Lane. So at the
Yeah.
end of the roadway we're constructing, we show on the utility plan, we provided a valve and a blow-off for both
Right.
water and reclaim. Is that
Okay.
what you're
I
looking
don't, if you can show me what exactly Poverty Lane is, I mean, easement or not, if we could have a loop, it would be better for the residents of your subdivision.
Yeah, we don't have the rights to go in Poverty Lane. It's a private easement. There's 8
So-
parcels along our western boundary.
So do you have an easement through that man's property?
For Poverty Lane, we do not.
No,
There's
the
8.
one that showed the gravity sewer.
They were going to get an easement over that one single parcel.
So it's not existing, it was shown as existing,
What's not existing?
the easement. It was shown on the plan as existing.
He agreed to it, and
Mm-hmm.
they could have recorded it, but it's no longer needed because we're going to do a lift station instead.
Okay, if an easement does exist on Poverty Lane, and it
Poverty
can be
Lane
a
and where
utility easement,
those are different locations, you know that, right? Where we were doing the gravity was not Poverty Lane.
right, I know.
Okay.
So I'm just saying, if there's a way to do a loop, it's optimal. But if there's not, respond accordingly.
Okay. I think that's it.
Okay. We'll go around with the DRC and see if any member has any questions or comments in regards to the submittal. Community development. All right. Police,
I don't have anything, thank you.
city engineer,
No, sir.
fire,
Nothing further, thank you.
transportation, and public services.
Nothing further.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. The next item on the agenda is the 1537 Harmon Road Concept Plan. And I believe the applicant is here in attendance. If you'd like to come to the podium, good morning.
Thank you very much for the meeting. We have a minimum. On development review over here, we have number 4, the applicant will require to enter a municipal service benefit unit agreement regarding specifically maybe the lights on the landscape, if somebody could address better what that agreement contains on.
Sure, that's an informational comment. We can give you the point of contact of the individual to reach out to. I can email that to you. His name is Chuck Favrick.
Okay.
And we will get you his info.
All right, thank you. The development shall be addressed on Ocoee Apopka Road. I spoke with Mr. Martinez. You're working on that one, right? All right.
Yeah, it was, for those of you that, this originally had a Harmon Road address, and Harmon Road originally was supposed to, went through, but obviously Harmon Road's not gonna be connected to it, so, main entrance is coming off of Ocoee Apopka, so we're gonna do that accordingly. And then, the only thing that he may need is, how many units you're looking at doing, are they actual kind of finalized in regards to the number of units, like?
Yes, they are, sir.
Okay, so.
From a conceptual plan, what I like to explain to the committee as well as you, I believe that he gave me a range between 1,521 and we being on the odd side. If we could have a 1717 address, I'm just pitching that out today. I know, it's easy, and, but that would be the main address on the main entrance. And then we have total of 12 units, as you can see. And whether we're gonna call them suites from building A 101 or a specific address, then it's up to your code. Okay, thank you. And I believe since I'm here, that also addressed Public Works, because you mentioned that we do not have access from Harmon Road, it would be a public. So I'm just taking advantage of the same time addressing you on your comments. I think you made a comment regarding the access not being from Harmon. Would that suffice you as well?
I think in the comments, we just talked about, I mean, we just mentioned that there's an address, right, correct, for Harmon,
Yeah.
yet its only access is onto Ocoee Apopka?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you're wondering if there would be access to Harmon?
No, what I'm wondering is the pastor currently is addressed as Harmon Road, but access is from Ocoee, and you're asking if it is correct. Yes, it is correct, but we're going to change the address to Ocoee,
Oh, okay.
and that probably will satisfy,
Yeah.
okay? Just trying to get two birds with one stone here. On the site mitigation of wetlands, you ask us for the letter. The letter should be addressed to the city or to the development from Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation.
The mitigation of wetlands, I believe, is through St. John's River Water Management District.
Correct. We will produce a report. I believe
Okay.
there's no wetland there, but
Okay.
the report will go to them, and then we get a letter from them.
Yeah, it would be in your environmental reports.
On
as well.
environment report. All right, we should be okay there. On the tree survey for development standards, is pines specimen list?
Pines, I believe.
Yes. Okay, because most of the site is pine. The second question, is that okay if we do an inventory count of the trees and the type of trees and an inventory of size as opposed to specific locations? GPS of each location on the site is going to be extremely costly, but I will do give you 100% of counts and specific.
If you can, if there's anything that is actually a good specimen tree, not specimen in terms of
Sure.
size, just a good tree over 6 inches, then if you can finagle those to keep them, obviously it's better, but, you know, you can do a listing of it.
Yeah, my intent is to do a list of a full inventory of every tree, but not specific location, but identify 100 or whatever, 50 of one, on a tabular way that you have asked for, and the accountability of inches. If we do find any trees that is salvageable and it's within the, protection, then we have to either find a forest to try to find us with or work with you to decide what to do with it. Okay? The mitigation fee on that, we'll decide that when we finish the count, right? Okay, thank you. Those are my comments. The rest, I believe, we are talking to each one of your departments regarding building. And the only thing I have to tell you is that on this concept, this is a owner-developer unit. So each building is going to have its own owner. This is not a lease. So the medical office that will come in there, they're going to have ownership. And the rest of the area is considered a common area element, which is going to be owned by the condominium association, which maintain, preserve reserves, and budgetary reasons for longevity, upkeeping of the premises. Just so you know how the concept's going to look like. That's it.
All right, well, we will go around with the DRC, see if any member has any questions or comments. We'll start with community development.
The only question I had is, there's nothing in land development code for bypass lane for the drive-through. Is that something that fire is going to need or want, or do you work with that the way it is?
I can work with that. Yeah, we'll be fine.
Thank you.
Anything else? All right. Police,
I don't have anything, thank you.
city engineer.
Yeah, I didn't notice, I heard somewhere that there was a underground exfiltration plan for the site, although I don't think the site plan said it, somewhere I heard it. And when I look at the area around your site that appears to be kind of in a depressional area, I see stormwater ponds, 2 of them with standing water in them, on the property appraiser's website, both east and west of you, and a stormwater pond to the south of you. So, I know we're at a conceptual level here, so I wanted you to look at that concept of putting underground exfiltration in an area that may be below the water table.
Yes, sir. Unfortunately, our civil engineer could not be present at the meeting today for, COVID reasons. He will address this better, but the site drops from 100 feet on the site to about 75 on the bottom side behind the tree, so we have a big slope. So our intention to put the underground is over there to the right side of that drive-through. And so we have done the borings, and we have gone 25 feet, yes, right there. And we have gone even below that, at 25 feet, we couldn't reach water. We're going to continue to try to do that, but we couldn't find anything there. So that's probably the most suitable place at this time.
Okay, well, yeah, that would demonstrate if you just submitted a copy of that geotechnical report.
Yes,
but,
sir.
That would answer that question.
Yes, thank you. We will do that.
That's all I had.
Thanks.
Okay, fire department,
Nothing further, thank you.
transportation.
A couple things. You need to have your traffic engineer contact me for a methodology for the traffic study. And I just want to make sure you're aware, you're going to have to put right and left turn lanes on Apopka Road. Also, we are in preparation or planning stages of improvements to Apopka Road, which y'all will have to participate in. We're going to be talking about a right-of-way donation along Apopka Road as well. So the
Sure.
sooner we can get having those conversations, the better off y'all are.
Absolutely. I believe that we have over here my general contractor, which knows as well the traffic, and we began that conversation yesterday. We will do the traffic impact study.
Yeah, unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend the.
Yeah, I know. But we'll definitely update you on that, and the traffic study will be done together with you. I believe that Orange County mentioned that now it's on your jurisdiction.
No, they're incorrect. That is not our road. That's their road. You'll have to get your permits through them. But we are taking the lead on making improvements. We're not going to widen Apopka Road, but we are doing access management.
Okay, I'll make sure that my civil engineer coordinated that with you.
Who's your civil?
Jeremy Anderson.
Okay.
Yeah, he worked for you before. Just a question, just for the sake of financial. Would the impact fee then be with you or with them?
The impact fees, yes, they come to the city.
With the city.
And the impact fee money will be used to help fix Sequoia Apopka Road.
All right, we will address that at the time, and I'll make sure that he coordinate that with you.
That'd be fine. Thank you.
Sure.
Public services.
If you don't have any other questions on our comments?
I believe that Mr. Jeremy Anderson's been in touch with you
He has.
regarding, the retention walls and a few other areas, especially the road at this time, which is still preliminary, but I'm sure we will be in touch with you and additional
Okay.
comments.
Yeah,
At
no
this
problem.
time, based on the preliminary comments, no. It was just the address.
Okay. Well, we look forward to your submittal. I believe its area is under 25,000 square feet. So
Yes,
it
sir.
would be a minor development plan.
Yes.
And we look forward to the submittal.
Well, so do we. I appreciate your cooperation.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Thank you, you too. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the Rock Springs Ridge Golf Course Large-Scale Future Land Use Amendment from residential estates to residential very low suburban. It is located within the Rock Springs Ridge community. And I believe the applicant is here and has received comments from the Development Review Committee. So if you wouldn't mind coming to the podium, and we can go over the comments.
Good morning, David Evans, Evans Engineering, 719 Irma Avenue, Orlando, Florida, 32803. Here on behalf of the Golf Group and the comp plan submittal package for the Rock Springs Ridge Golf Course. Have received the staff comments and have a couple questions and kind of want to go through them. We understand that the application area was inconsistent with the area that will be used for the comp plan amendment, so we will update the application accordingly to make sure that it's consistent with that particular area. Number two had a justification of the request and how's the intensity and density consistent with and compatible with the existing Rock Springs Ridge PD. We did submit a summary document that summarized the application and how we arrived at the 239.2 acres. The compatibility has to do with the type of units that will be proposed or single-family homes that will be proposed in this particular area as well. Obviously, this is a comp plan change, and at the comp plan change phase, we are asking for an increase in density on the golf course land in order to justify the additional units. At this point, the comp plan kind of governs how that can be developed based on the type of amendment that we're seeking, as well as the type of development that would be proposed here. Later on in the document, you asked for some concept plans that I want to discuss, but obviously, all that would be consistent with what we're trying to do relative to this comp plan amendment. So from that, I will write an additional document that kind of describes what type of community we're talking about here and what that means, so that everyone is on the same page with specifically what we're requesting through this application amendment. Any other questions on that comment or topic that we need to address here? The narrative is what's commented on number 3, and it wants, the comment says, please explain how we arrived at 261 units, additional units based on the comp plan change, and it's pretty simple. The golf course land is around 320 acres. The area that's consumed by the higher density 2 units per acre comp plan designation, less the total area of the golf course, is approximately 239.2 acres. So the 239.2 acres would be the subject of the comp plan amendment change to increase the density from 1 unit per acre to 2 units per acre. Obviously, the 1 unit per acre portion of that particular area has already been consumed by the existing development based on the fact that it was semi-clustered. So the lots that are on the property today aren't 1 acre in size, but if you combine that area with the area of the golf course, then that golf course land was used to mitigate and offset the density from the development that's currently exists. So the difference is when you change the density from 1 unit to 2 units per acre is 1 unit per acre because one's already been used. So the 239 comes from the 1 unit per acre lift. There's also a surplus of 22 units that exists today based on what's been actually built on the property versus the corrected land area that was in error on the zoning maps. So on the zoning plan and the zoning applications and some of the amendments that came through the city, the area that was reported to the city was incorrect, and it's actually 300 acres less. So after taking into account the two land use designations on the property and the number of the units that were actually built, we came up with a surplus of 22 units. So 261 is the combination of 239 from the one unit lift and the 22 surplus, which gives us 261 units. You asked for a plan sheet just showing the golf course acreage and the proposed density, and we can do that so that you understand exactly where we're talking about the change. Concept plan, we've actually circulated a couple of different ideas on concept plans to the HOA and others through the community meeting process. We've had two, and that plan actually kind of shows a little bit about our ideas, obviously subject to change. At this point, we're in a comp plan amendment process. We are not specifically proposing a particular plan at this point, but obviously, again, the plan has to be consistent with the policies in the future land use and comp plan for the city, and we intend to do that. So we will circulate that rendering concept plan with the next application.
Yeah, that was one of the things, and you brought it up right near the beginning, is that part of the justification is, can it fit?
Right.
And the concept plan that I had seen that you sent from the community meeting, it showed, the original concept plan showed smaller lots than what was originally in the area.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're looking for that compatibility with
Sure.
what's there.
Okay. Yep, the new one has that. We've gone through probably 15 different concepts, and it will continue to do that through the point where we actually get through the zoning process. And the zoning process obviously is independent of this process. It follows this process, but we will submit what we have as a current concept that is compatible, and it does meet the same lot sizes that are adjacent to the property. So we want to make sure that we show you that so you can see how that fits. School capacity, we talked about that before. We have a correspondence from the school board, and obviously it all ties into the JPA with the county school board and the city relative to if you are proposing a 55-plus community that you don't need to meet concurrency for schools. So we've circulated that document through you guys already, through the staff, and we'll give you another copy of that with this next round of reviews so that you understand what this application is for. It will be a 55-plus community, therefore school concurrency would not be required. There's a little cleanup here on the Phase 1 ESA relative to the area. I think they did include the entire property, so we'll make sure that it only includes the area of the land that we're proposing in the comp plan amendment, which would be the golf course land. I think there's a few different comments relative to that we'll have them address unless there's specific questions from staff on those particular comments. We have some comments on the species survey and the gopher tortoises. There was actually a map in the environmental survey that showed where the gopher tortoise burrows were, where they found them. So it's in that report, but I'll refer back to that. I don't know who made the comment or looked at it, but we'll make sure you have that exhibit and understand where those actually are. They will be mitigated through that report, and it kind of describes the process of how that gets done, if needed. Some of the, obviously understand, we're not proposing to develop the entire golf course, only a portion of it. So in that area that would be developed, those would have to be relocated. Species survey for incidental take permit is referenced there. I'll make sure we reference that back. There's some references to what happens with some of the species that were found on the property, and those will be addressed as well. They obviously update that on a regular basis, so we understand this process and how long it normally takes to get through this. So before any construction actually occurs, they do a new species survey to make sure that what was reported in the previous surveys is consistent. If there's any thing that needs to be relocated or moved or changed based on that, then we would obviously have to accommodate that as well.
Since this
I think, well, it's included in that report, that the details of how that works, and he did not find any active areas that might have that. It's, you know, usually that's 3 different criteria that you have to go through in order to justify the skink survey. So he actually did do that in that report, so I'll point that out. After that, it's just public hearings, questions, and then emailing notices and how that works. And so, traffic. On to Pam. We talked to the traffic engineer this morning also, and we'll get those cleaned up based on what that is. Question for you is, we've got a density of 239 units that's going to be increased based on this proposed comp plan change. 22 units in surplus that are left over from the previous development. Would that traffic study include the proposed change, or would that also include the total build-out development, even though those units had already been in the previous applications and accounted for?
Well, that's in the background. The traffic study accounts for what is currently allowed, and then you look at the maximum allowable development if the comp plan is approved.
Right.
And you study the impacts of the difference.
The difference. Okay.
But everything else is in the background. The reason I didn't review the traffic study was because the information in the traffic study didn't match the rest of the application.
That's correct. That's correct.
So you can have, you know, if Joe wants to talk about it some more, if you want to talk about, but the answer to your question is that stuff is in the background. Whether or not we pull it out separately and pull it out of the background and just show it as its individual traffic, you know, we can do that. I don't think it's necessary.
I agree. I mean, the 22 is combined with the entire project, so
And
we're.
again, that's all caught up in the
far as-
background
yeah.
traffic that we go out and count.
Yep, there really isn't any relative to because our proposal is to increase it, the amount that we're asking for, requesting in the comp plan change. So the existing entitlements relative to traffic on the golf course are 0.
Right.
So, okay, I think we'll talk about that with Joe. Engineering division, and then public services. I guess need some clarification on those comments relative to what we're not proposing anything now as far as the development goes or how that's going to connect. Maybe some statements as to where that would be derived from, like your connection points.
Right, I was just offering as an informative comment, I guess,
Okay.
at this point.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, he didn't say that, but it's. in
Oh,
the
did I skip
comments.
over that? No
If
problem.
you want the traffic study reviewed. If you want the traffic study reviewed.
Oh, I see.
So
I see.
you
Sort of
don't need to
conditional.
bring it until you bring me a revised traffic study.
Got it. Fire department, we had some comments here relative to general information based on, you know, future developments and proposals through the development, so appreciate those. Was there anything in here that I had to address for the comp plan change, which isn't actually a specific development, but just the change in the land use that you might need for a response?
No, just, is this going to be private, gated communities?
No,
or
not
all
gated.
Public, okay. Yeah, nothing further.
Okay. And the police department, so that was all the comments that were on my list, unless there's something else that we needed to bring up or address.
Okay, we will go around with the DRC and see if any member has any questions or
Main thing
comments.
is, the updated information has to be submitted before we can, for review, including transportation, and then at point, once we review that, we can set the schedule with that on the commission, city council, we've got to have the updated.
Perfect.
And that's all I have.
Okay. Police department.
A couple questions. A is, the gentleman's acknowledged that there's deficiencies in the application that need to come back. So do we move forward, or does he resubmit the application? Because there's a lot of unknowns in the application that the other departments have asked about. So where do we go from here, I guess is my question right now.
That's the resubmittal, and depending on the application itself, we may end up meeting again. If it's sufficient, then with comments or anything like that, my guess is we may end up meeting again. Because, there's a big difference in the acreage and the clarification on that, so.
And that's my next question. There's a lot of unknowns about this entire project that have gone on since I've been here for 5 years, a little over 5 years. And one thing you didn't mention was where the open area recreational space, how's that accounted for with your development as to what's supposed to be in that development, that subdivision, from what they have now to building those. You made another comment about 55-plus community. How does that fit in with the current, basically, family setting that is established throughout the entire Rock Springs Ridge subdivision? So I have a little bit of concern about increasing the density, and you haven't shown us anything when you increase the density that shows us how you're gonna do that and how it's gonna lay out, because to me, you can just go in there and plot plate things without any real ingress, egress considerations and other things that were in the plans that were submitted to us at this particular point in time. I think there's a lot of unknowns to add 239 additional density to that area. And Rock Springs Ridge, each one of the sections has a little bit of different layout in it. Where do you plan on putting the density, and how's that going to fit into that particular community? So to me, I can't support this at this particular point in time because there's too many unknowns.
Right. So appreciate the comment, and certainly one of the things that we have to keep in mind at this point, and from the response, just like you said, and Mr. Hitz said, we have to be consistent with and compatible, as well as complete and sufficient based on what the application package looks like. So it's a bunch of information. We're throwing it all in. We have the first application through. We have some corrections to make, which is pretty common, unfortunately. Once different areas are assumed based on different applications and how we do that, but we're going to clean all those up in the next review, and then if we have another meeting, that's fine too.
The other thing I'd like to see clarified is you made a comment about you're not developing the entire portion of the golf course.
Right.
You've got some concept plans. Whatever your final concept plan is might help us to decide what parts you are going to develop.
That's
and
correct.
what parts are not going to be developed.
Right.
Because some sections to me don't look like they might have access to them, and those might be the sections that you're not going to develop and everything else. But to be honest with you, at this particular point in time, to say that you can improve the density without me knowing anything about what you're doing or what you're intending to do in certain sections of the golf course is totally premature.
So in the comp plan application, and this is chapter 163 with Florida statutes that designates what comp plan changes do and how that works. And it's a kind of a global overall change based on the compatibility as well as the existing infrastructure and the support from the existing infrastructure that's necessary to increase that density. The zoning plan and the zoning phase of this project is when you get into the details of how this will look and how this will work. Some of the comments that we got from Public Works as well as the police and others are relative to what will be in the zoning phase. So this comp plan phase goes through, it increases the density, but nothing can be built. All it does is give you that density increase, period, not specific to any particular plan or how you're going to do it. But we do have a concept plan. We have circulated it, and we have some amenities and other things that we've included with that concept plan, which you're going to see in the next application. The idea that the concept plan is the perfect plan, it's going to look like that, we still want to work the concept plan out with the community. We've talked to them during these community meetings that we had, the Zoom meetings, and we understand that there's some concerns in some areas and not other areas. So we want the flexibility to be able to kind of customize this development inside the golf course community and with the least amount of impact on the existing residents. So we're working toward that, and that all comes out during the zoning phase, which we're not doing now. We're not in the PD zoning phase. The PD opens the book up, modifies the PD based on what we're trying to do, and specifically designates how that community will look.
And
This is a
and I
concept
understand
plan,
that, but
and you'll
you're
see it.
asking us to, at this point, improve the density of that area. I have to provide services to that area, obviously. I need to know what that is gonna look like to some extent. It might come at the zoning stage or anything else, but there's too many unknowns at this particular point in time of what areas you're gonna develop, what areas we have to provide service to, how we're gonna provide service, same with the fire department.
Right.
You know, we have to provide these services to our community and make sure that we can efficiently and effectively provide those. And I just don't, without some, and I get that you have a conceptual plan, and that conceptual plan might need to be tweaked as it goes through zoning
Correct.
and other things, but to give us some kind of idea of what you're currently looking at, what areas you're looking to develop, so we can understand what services we're gonna have to provide there, how we get there, how it's gonna work, and everything else would be tremendous before we can just say, carte blanche, yeah, you can increase the density of that development.
Right. And I think you'll get way more information in the next round relative to what the concept looks like. But I can assure you that during the process of the planning, the PD zoning amendment, which is the next round after this is all over, as well as the construction plan review process, as we have worked with the city before, the police department, the fire department, everyone will weigh in. We must meet the land development code. We must meet a public service access. We have to be on public streets, which we already have. All that will have to happen, otherwise we won't get an approval through the zoning phase or through the final construction plan phase. So we have a little road to go, a long road to go to get to the end. In this first phase, though, however, your comments are completely valid, and you need to make sure that there is sufficient access to the property and that any proposed increase would not negatively affect your services. And I agree with that, and I'll show you what we're doing there.
And I appreciate it, and
Okay.
understand, I understand your development rights and everything else, but
Correct.
to me, with this current application, and from what's gone on the last 5.5 years since I've been the police chief here, there's too many unknowns for us just to say, yeah, you can increase the density there. Because that affects a lot of things. It affects the community, it affects the services the city provides, and everything else, and I think there's just too many unknowns that
Right.
we don't know and I'm only bringing this forward so that hopefully they can be clarified if you make another application, so that we can make an informed decision. At this particular point in time, sitting here,
Right.
I don't feel that I can come anywhere close to making an informed decision as to whether or not I could agree with improving the density.
Right. And I want to clarify that for you, so that, look for that in the next round, and then we can certainly have another meeting and go through that again, too. So, appreciate your comments.
Did also mention real quick, this is touching on the density and everything, with the 55-plus community, I know you need to get the information from the Morris County School Board for approval of that portion, for a waiver on that, but is it going to be deed restricted?
Yes. And they sent me that. I kind of sent that around already, but I'm going to do it again just to make sure everybody's clear on that. But there is actually a deed-restricted format that the school board uses that I attached to the email that they gave from us relative to what that means. So yes, absolutely.
Anything further from the police department?
No, thank you for your time.
Thank you. City engineer,
No, thank you.
fire department.
No further comments at this time. Look forward to that next round and fully support what Chief McKinley was saying.
Thank you. Pam Richmond's
Just
transportation.
one thing. I don't want to be the one that holds up your schedule, so I don't know when I'm going to see the traffic study again, but once I receive it, I need at least 30 days. So I guess what I'm saying is you need to build that into your schedule.
Okay.
I don't know how accelerated y'all wanted to go, but
Okay.
do you have any idea when, based on the comments that I wrote and what else you're hearing here? Well, I guess, will 30 days fit into your schedule? Because,
It's not this schedule, it's ours. It's 30 days after receiving it.
okay, well, I don't want to be the one, but you should be aware, I need 30 days.
That's fine. Yeah. Thank you.
And public services.
So I did my best to go through your concept renderings, and the park and the trail look great, right? And I can tell you our department is constantly looking to get rid of our irrigation, our reclaimed water for irrigation. And though I have not gone to Rock Springs Ridge subdivision often, I have noticed that its golf course is dilapidated, let's say. And I was wondering, what is their watering schedule out there currently? And I think I did comment on that. So we're talking about the future of this golf course, but I was wondering about the current situation out there.
So it's an area that used to be a golf course. It's no longer a golf course. It was closed. The area that now remains is mowed regularly. I'm not sure they irrigate. I'll have to get with the owners and find out what that means, but at the end of the day, it's just vacant land, and my guess is it's not being irrigated at this time.
So, again, I'm not too familiar about deeds and all that, so it was an amenity at one time for that community.
Right.
And now it's just considered vacant land,
Open space.
almost like a pond.
I mean, it's got existing retention ponds in it. There's some that are independent of the development, some that are shared with the existing development. All that has to be taken into consideration. Some areas of that, we've proposed to do some trail systems and others. Some areas we're not even doing anything with. There's some areas that would just remain open space up in the northern part. So all of that can be considered, and you'll see that in the concept plan relative to what we're doing with the entire piece. But on the portion that we're developing, obviously, we would meet the requirements for stormwater and irrigation and other things. So certainly if there's something that, Public Works is interested in doing and using a part of that land for some bulk storage, that's certainly available.
Thank you.
Anything further from Public Services?
No.
Okay. All right, we need more information supplied with the next submittal to be able to make a determination one way or the other.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
All right, there are no further items on the agenda unless any member has any item they would like to discuss. Hearing none, we are adjourned. Thank you.